This video contains gratuitous use of profanity and uncomfortable pauses to compensate for lack of professionalism and original thought. Viewer discretion advised.
Live from a post-Brock Lesnar WWE universe, we bring you the Nerdy Manroom Show with your hosts, Hassel and Monster.
Hassel, it has been a long week for us. I know we got two shows out right back to back, and then I had to go out of town and just got back, so we probably have some slightly longer geek weeks, but let's go ahead and thank our sponsor first, and then we'll talk to the fans about what we're doing this week and next week. So let's thank our sponsor, The Zone Collectibles. They have a store located at 305 Main Street, Tifton, Georgia. You can find them on the internet at thezonecollectibles@gmail.com and on Facebook at The Zone Collectibles. Visit them for all your nerdy needs, from comics to Legos, trading cards, toys, games, and more. Help them support the local artist community through their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms unite. And remember, they do have an event coming up on August 13th. At the Tifton Performing Arts Theater. Is that the right location? I seem to forget that.
It's the Tifton Theater. It's right across the street from their actual location. So if you want to leave the event, walk across the road and buy some comics and goods, you're covered. And there's a big festival there that week at the downtown. So it's everything all on one. Some of
the other teams that we work with in their fandom community, Foxfoot Crafts and a few others are going to be there as well. And Hassel, we know for sure right now, is going to be there along with Mr. Daniel Garcia from Dane Comics, promoting Xyber Ronin. I think he was trying to have some of those in hand by the time he got there, so we'll see how that works out. But
lettering was done the other day, so he should be very, very close.
Awesome. So as I mentioned before, we were going to do something for this week, and we had talked about doing. We mentioned last time we were going to talk about John Wick, and what we're doing is introducing a new segment to the show, one that we want to come back to every so many episodes and just do what we call Review Rewind, where we look back at a movie. We have not an old movie, but an older movie for us that we haven't watched in a while. We watch it with a little bit more critical eye and give you our takes and our interpretation of the movie. And we were going to start this week with John Wick. Unfortunately, we also saw that SDCC was last weekend, and we thought it was going to be a little bit slower because it's the first one back, and it was not.
They come out the door punching, Monster.
Dude, they come out the door punching like Brock Lesnar driving that tractor last night, which we'll get into in a little bit too. But we knew with all the SDCC stuff, as well as wanting to go over our Review Rewind, that we wouldn't have time for both this week. So we decided, since SDCC was a little bit more closer to a time-sensitive matter since it just happened, we're going to cover that some this week. And then next week, we'll get back to you with our Review Rewind of John Wick. So with that, I think we're ready to roll right on into Geek Week updates, because I'm sure we got several things going to share in that time. So I don't really remember who went first last time. So Hassel, I'm going to put you on the spot and make you go first.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, I'm going to start out with the Halloween Ends trailer. Oh, man, dude. It is so awesome. And it's just a teaser. It's a sliver of what to expect, but man, it comes out just throwing them hammers. It's awesome. He tries to put her hand in the garbage disposal, then it looks like she gets his hand. It's like, oh man, I got stoked for that, huge big time pop.
So I saw it was posted, and I'll be honest, I never got around to watching it with so many of the others, but I did see one thing that kind of relates to that, only in the fact of Rob Zombie being involved. We talked about the Monsters movie and how that looked so poor. Did you see that it's not actually even getting a theatrical release now? It's going straight to digital streaming and Netflix. That was announced at Comic-Con too.
Yeah, Rob Zombie, he actually made a huge post, and I don't know if he was doing it as damage control or if he's literally putting out the fire before it starts and spitting some truth. But according to Rob Zombie, it was always going to go straight to Netflix. When the project was first come about, before Rob Zombie even got his hands involved in it, supposedly it was going straight to digital. It was a Netflix type, And matter of fact, he said that the budget was pretty small, like it was never going to be like a Peacock original or something like that. It was destined for the land of Netflix or something to that effect, maybe Amazon, if not. So that was his take on it.
But I have seen so many other people that I watch when I'm working. Sometimes when I'm working from home, I get to listen to a lot of podcasts and interviews and stuff. And every podcast show similar to ours, it kind of delves into the nerddom realm. Was watching the trailer for it and talking about how campy it was, and they were like, I can't see how this is going to fail in the theaters. This needs to be a straight to video. So that may be damage control, but nobody out there in the land of movie reviews at all has thought that it was going straight that way. Everybody understood it was going to be a theatrical release.
Well, I just wonder how much of this movie got redrafted and rewritten to make his wife more of the star. I mean, she's already playing one of the main characters, but I don't know. It just seems like she's the focal point of it. And it's like, how much of this got redone to, but I mean, come on. It's like every movie he does, he finds a way to cram her in there. Like, I was okay with the first Halloween that he done. I mean, it took some liberties. But it was a reimagining. Okay. It was, I get it, I was kind of okay, his mom being old slutty, stripper, killed herself. Okay, so, but she's done at that point. Do not bring her back in part 2 as the ghost kill for me. No, that's a totally different character. That is Jason Voorhees. It's not Michael Myers. And I never even finished that movie, but he just does this shit like this stuff. Because I guess no one else will hire her. I haven't seen a movie yet that she was in that he didn't direct.
I have no idea who she even is other than seeing her in that preview for the Monsters and knowing and seeing her in the other movies, right? But when I see her now, or if I see anything, the first thing pops in my mind is her is in the Monsters, and I was like, oh gosh, turn this off.
I mean, she's literally on my wall behind me on a Devil's Rejects painting, but I want to see her in every damn thing he touches. I just don't.
Yeah. So sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead with the rest of you.
No, I mean,
I had to share that one just because I saw it.
I had a few things come in package wise. I got my Demona. She showed up thanks to Monster. I got my RED Galvatron showed up and he looks so cool. And I want to open him because I think he'd be like so cool to pose. Then I looked on eBay. I seen his values like doing pretty well. So I'm like, I'm not wanting to pull it out just yet. A few other odds and ends came in, but I got my Gung Ho in, Walmart exclusive, as you can tell. They gave zero fucks when they just threw him in a mailing bag, which we'll get back to that later. So we have these.
So while you're on that one, I was when I was out of town this week, I went into the Walmart and Target where I was, because I always do that the first night I'm there to get a few essentials for the hotel room, like some drinks and maybe some fruit snacks or something like that to have in there. So I'm in there and I walked by and I was like, oh my Lord, they had this one Gung Ho, the regular classified one. This box was ripped to shreds. I mean, it was barely hanging together. And I looked down and there's a sale price or $11. I was like, for $11, I would buy them loose for that. So maybe I'll just buy them and pull them out and throw them on the shelf because it's a beat up box. Oh no, the $11 was for the Snake Eyes classified movie ones. He was still 17. He was marked down to $17.99 from $20.99. I said, "No, you can stay here for that." And they wouldn't even sell it to me with a beat up box. I was like, "So you won't mark the price down? I mean, this is horrible." They're like, "No, we can't do that. You can keep him then. Go put him back on your shelf."
Yeah, the only ones I've seen in our area that even marked down is Cobra Commander. Yeah, I've seen him at about 17 bones a few times, and I would have bought Flint had I seen him, but they did have a Lady J at 17, and I come real close to getting her, but I was like, So I did have a Spirit and Storm Shadow arrive also this week.
Oh, those are excellent.
So yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty good week on the nerddom for things rolling in the gate. Watched Raw Monday night. It was okay. I mean, Raw was probably the best Raw I've seen in a while. I mean, the big news is Vince McMahon is no longer with the WWE, supposedly. Not even creatively, nothing. So we'll see where it goes. We'll get into, SummerSlam a little later in the show. But
and I think that's in both.
I will say it was. Yeah, I'll give SummerSlam a solid 8 last night. I mean, and it should be the last of of Brock Lesnar and the WWE unless they get on the same page later. So we'll kind of see. AEW has been on a downslide, and I'm a huge AEW fan, but there's nothing noteworthy the last 2 weeks other than the trios titles that they debuted. Those look really cool. I like them. They give me the good WCW tag title vibe.
They look good, but do they really need more belts?
Well, they want to give Omega and the Bucks their own little, which they have a lot of trios there. I'm not gonna say, and that's a big thing in Japan. You know, the 6-man tag, and it does harken back to the heritage of the NWA. You know, that was real big. But then again, there was so many great tag teams in NWA. Let's be honest. You had World Tag Team titles, U.S. Tag Team titles, and a 6-man tag. And sometimes the same tag might own 2 sets of them, but there was so many great tag teams there that you could justify it.
I always enjoyed them more as tag teams when it was under the Freebirds rule, and it was just, okay, there's 2 belts, but any one of you in the group can defend those 2 belts, right? You don't have to have 3.
Freebirds of the Wolf Pack, I'm down with that. Because I don't believe that DX ever really tried that right there too much.
No, they pretty much just stuck them on their the New Age Outlaws. I couldn't think of the name of the team. Saved my life for a minute.
Yeah, I didn't know if you was going with the lower tier guys, but yeah, it stayed on Outlaws unless it was when Kane was an honorary member and had it with X-Pac.
I remember that too. I forgot about that.
That was a weird little segment in time. Played a great deal of Evil Dead. I found out that the trees in the fucking forest will attack your ass, which is crazy. Because like my daughter, she came over Sunday, and like they've been giving me shit about it. It's like, I can't believe you got scared of a video game. I said, oh. So I cut it on, and she sits on my recliner by me all the time. So I'm sitting there playing, and like the first time the tree attacks, she jumps and screams. So then I like scream like a bitch. And I was just like, oh, we're both just like, and then it's like several times throughout the game, and we found a new form of deadite, because apparently there's several different kinds of deadites that you can battle. There was one that's got electricity coming off. It was a thunderstorm. So it's raining, and you got thunder cracking and popping. Then you hear that little ominous, and then they start popping up. And if they land an attack on you, electricity starts coming off of them, which will shock your ass. Then they will clone themselves. So if he lands several attacks, there'll be several there. But, if you just maul their ass up, they die. But when they die, they explode with electricity. So you can still get struck by lightning, even beating one. Yeah. In the world of video games,
there's a zombie show that reminds me of on, and I cannot think of the name of it right now. Save my life. It's on Netflix. It used to be on Sci-Fi Network, but like they constantly run across different kinds of zombies because they've been mutated by getting entangled into plants, and some of them start growing pieces of plants out of them that you can take. That's like some of these stoners would take and get high with and stuff, and it would start mutating them into zombies. And then you had some that would get almost like a little mini tornado, and you know how little tumbleweed rolls along the ground. They would roll in little balls like that, and they would pull you in. If you got caught in it, they would pull you into them. They would maul you up inside of it. I was like, that's some different takes on stuff, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, The Walking Dead is something similar. Like the beach type area that was in that one season there was the lesbian community type deal, and they had some walkers there that had been, just in water for so long, they, kind of barnacled up a little bit, I guess. But yeah, that's something different. But apparently there's several different types of deadites. My daughter, she Googled it, and her and my fiance laughed at me, but then they both would jump every time I jumped. So we was all just staring at each other at this point. In the same world of games, I made an NWO 2000 on WWE 2K. I couldn't resist. Like I had to do it. And then that, oddly enough, sparked because I vaguely remember the NWO 2000 being a little bigger than what it was. Because I know about the time it started taking off. That's when Brett got his concussion. Then apparently I'd forgot that Jeff Jarrett apparently got a major concussion at the same time in the match with Snuka. So I started researching a little bit this week, so I didn't just look at it through rose-colored glasses. And that was the bad WCW. I mean, that group could have been like something because you had Hall, Nash, Brett, and then Jarrett, and then Scott Hall gets sent off to rehab to say plug in Scott Steiner, which is still 4 main event guys. And if you kept it at that, you're good. I do think you needed Hall and Nash to give it that NWO credibility a little more, but it's still fun to play with them on there.
What percent chance of victory do you think they would have had after they had a Scott Steiner and there was 4 of them in the group? What kind of math would he have come up with?
Man, what's the meme where all the things are here and there?
All the formulas.
You got a 33 and a 4% chance. I love that promo. It's awesome still.
So dumb, it's hilarious.
It is. And I think the last thing was my ringside collectibles Hollywood Hulk Hogan come in.
Yeah, you sent a picture of that.
He resides right there by my Jason mask. Pretty cool looking figure. It's I want to open him, but I'm holding strong. I can't keep taking out the MOC and buying 2 of everything.
Yeah, that's my problem. Is the ones I want to take out, I got to buy 2 of them. Man, they're getting expensive.
Yeah. So that was pretty much my week. I'll turn it over to you, Monster, and let you
yeah. Well,
that out.
For me, I think one of the things we had the same, especially for what I watched. But I was traveling for a lot. I mean, we had a good little run at home there, and then I was out of town for the rest of last week. But let's see. So I watched Resident Evil, the new Netflix series. It's only 8 episodes. It's 1 season. It's all right. It's nothing great or spectacular. It relates back to none of the other than using Umbrella and Albert Wesker and Raccoon City names, but it wasn't
I think
bad.
you're literally the first person to even say it's okay. Like everyone that I've seen, it's like I was kind of stoked for it, and I kept seeing things on Facebook by guys that and guys and gals that are fellow horror enthusiasts like myself, and they were like, "Don't waste your fucking time." I see all these posts, and I was like, "Ooh." You see one, it's like okay, but then when you start seeing 2, 3, 4,
it's really not. It's really not a horror series. I mean, this first season basically sets up what's going on in their whole world. I mean, they show there's a few mutated things. Like in the first episode, there's a mutated caterpillar or centipede or something that comes out of the ground and tries to eat the main character. I mean, this thing is several stories high. So I mean, that was kind of like the biggest stuff like that, but and there's a huge crocodile type thing later in the season. But really, it was what was interesting to me about it is that they're telling you what's going on right now, but the show is split into 2 time periods. It tells you what's going on now, and it jumps you back to early 2000s, 2002, 2005, whatever, somewhere along there, and shows you the main character and her twin sister when they were younger, and they're Albert Wesker's daughters, and they're trying to figure out. Or they start seeing all the things happening with Umbrella and all the animals get released. One of them gets bitten and starts to turn and stuff. So, I mean, going back and showing you that and then coming back to what's happening in the here and now is kind of an interesting concept. It's very much like Arrow in the first couple seasons where they would jump back and show you how he got to the point he got to. So that was interesting. But the past stuff is far more interesting and has far more of a potential for a jump scare. They don't really do it, but it has it. The here and now really doesn't have that. It's just kind of all right. We've been in this world for years. We're living in it. What's the next thing that's going on? And they lose me in the future setting or the present setting versus the past one. To be honest.
Well, speaking of Resident Evil type science, did you see this week where neuroscience they did some things with a dead spider to make it where it was actually usable as a tool, so to speak?
No, I haven't. But since you mentioned that before, you explained that more because I got to hear more about that because I see that. There is actually a section of this show where they go into an underground tunnel, and there's a mutated spider that's like 3 times the size of a human being trying to eat.
I can't watch
that freaked me out there. I was like, nope. I fast forwarded through that section. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, apparently some scientists have somehow developed something that it shows like this. Ooh, I don't like spiders, so you know how I feel about this, but it shows what look like kind of a little bigger than a brown recluse, maybe. And it's got like a needle plugged in the back of him, but they made it where it could even though it was dead, they injected him with something and it was able to physically grab this sponge and pick it up.
Oh no! See, we're messing with stuff.
So that's the first thing I said. I said, "You son of a bitches, this is how we get The Walking Dead, right here."
See,
And that's
especially
where it
something.
starts. It starts with like insects. It's like, oh, but what good does it? I don't want zombie spiders in my damn world.
No, and spiders and snakes and stuff like that, they can squeeze through anything and get through anywhere. Why would you start with something that could easily escape and you not even notice it for days?
And this is, we're not going to have Spider-Man running around. You're talking zombies.
Yeah.
This is not going to lead to Peter Parker here.
No, this is going to lead to Man Spider.
Yes. I mean, it just. I hate to interrupt, but as soon as I seen this, I was just
I've got to look that up now. I usually look at stuff like that, but I was traveling, and as I told you before you started, I worked a couple of days where we started at like 4 a.m. and ended at 8 p.m. So I'm like, I didn't read much this week. I didn't read anything this week, honestly. And I got to watch very little other than I finished Resident Evil because I started it before I went out of town, and I finished it right before I got back. But other than that, they didn't really get to watch anything else. Honestly, my next thing on my list is watching Summerslam, which we probably both, I'm sure we both watched and can cover that in some more detail here. But yeah, no, I got to look that up. I saw something not long ago about some kind of prairie dog or something that was like zombie. They were like prairie dogs raising from the grave. And they made it sound like zombies. But what it was the ground was actually soaking up water, and they were coming out of the ground. Their dead bodies were coming out. Because when you read the clickbait, it's like zombies. I was like, oh, what the hell?
Well, this is actually. It had pictures of the thing. It shows it, but it's almost like it's got some kind of little medical device attached to the back of it, and it operates and makes it it worked like the claw machine.
Oh no!
And I was like, hell no.
No, I'll have to look at that, but no, that freaks me out a little bit. But before we get too freaked out, let's just move ahead to SummerSlam because that was actually one of the better pay-per-views I've seen in years. And let me start this too. You talked about Vince retiring, and he did retire. It was the weekend of Comic-Con, right? He did it on Friday at 4 o'clock, so the stock market's closed, so it's not going to tank the stock. That's an old school trick right there. But did you see when they came back up on Monday? That by Monday morning, mid-morning, when they announced the first stock prices, the stock has shot up 6.5%. It's up to almost 10 now.
If that doesn't tell you that the world knew at this point, Vince McMahon was not only out of touch, but that, breathing, WWE needed new life breathed into it. And it's already all these rumors coming out, and you got to wonder who's leaking them. They're actually saying Vince is having memory issues. He's using terms he shouldn't have been using in the last 20 years or so.
Yeah, that it's a lot of stuff. But I mean, even before they announced Triple H taking creative, they got to 6.5%. As soon as they announced him, by the end of the first day, they're up to almost 10% increase.
That's probably the biggest positive I've seen.
Yeah, they have a lot of faith in his leadership, apparently.
Well, okay, look at what he done with NXT. I mean, I was never a big NXT-er myself. I watched a few shows here or there, but I will say he developed a lot of really good talent there.
Yeah.
That was really when they came to the roster. Vince just goofed him up. And originally, to begin with, he didn't goof him up as much because you had talent started creeping in. But then, when Vince started getting more and more into the NXT, they quit making the splash they were making before. So I think if he's got the toys of the two big boy rosters to play with, he'll do some positive things, I feel like. The talent feels he's more approachable. I think they've got rid of Pritchard. He's completely gone now. I don't think he has anything to do. And it's rumored that Paul Heyman's going to be taking over SmackDown's creative, which I would love to see Triple H do Raw, Heyman SmackDown. Just the creative juices of two teams is always better to me.
And I think Triple H could do a good job. My only concern with Triple H doing it is the health issues he had in the last year that caused him to be completely out of it. Like, can you really be that creative is an intensive process? Can you really, can you take that with everything going on?
Hey, but you know what? If you don't have your pa-in-law micromanaging you anymore, telling you what you can and can't do, and you got your wife as the CEO of the company and the chairwoman or co-CEO and the chairwoman, which gives her an edge over the other co-CEO, you're going to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
So if you know it's yours to play with, you got all the toys, you don't really got to share. I mean, that should take a lot of stress off right there.
And some of the people he could bring in to help with creative, like Paul Heyman, and he's got Shawn Michaels now doing NXT and everything. I mean, they can make a difference as long as they don't have that other finger in their pot all the time stirring it up.
Well, they don't have Bruce, they don't have Vince no more. And it's rumored Kevin Dunn is probably fisting to get his ass out the door too. And he's a long time producer there. Was it like 40 years?
So
It's
I
like
heard that,
ridiculously
and then I
long.
saw an interview with Triple H from last night before SummerSlam, and he said the four people that they're relying on right now to make everything happen and for the foreseeable future, and he mentioned Kevin Dunn as one of those four. So I
Did he?
wonder if they're going to keep him. He
Well,
mentioned
from what I
Stephanie,
understand,
Nick
him and
Khan,
Stephanie
Kevin Dunn.
are not very big. Like
No,
they don't like each other at all.
yeah. So I'll be surprised if he stays, but they seemed to call him out last night like he was. But have you seen all the other news though? There's a lot of folks who are like that had left and who are now interested in coming back, or who were worried about their position and now are wanting to re-sign. And there's been talk to some of the AEW folks who have either been pushed out or not used, or used to be WWE people who are looking at like, oh, I might go back now.
Well, they're locked up to long-term deals. Nick Khan's already, or Tony Khan, I'm sorry, he's already addressed this because apparently that rumor started running wild all over Twitter. And he's like, look, they're locked up for 2-3 years. They're not going nowhere. You don't just get out, which makes you really wonder about MJF right now, because the first thing he says, you don't just get out of a contract for 2 or 3 years long. You're here. Now, I'm sure probably Adam Cole, he's going to probably regret good jumping because of the fact that Triple H will push him to the moon on Raw, and he knows it. But you know what? You continue to you stay at AEW, learn a new hold, and then when you go back in 2 years, it's waiting for you. I mean, so
For most
the
of
only
those,
thing
go ahead.
Well, the only thing I see is some people that probably would have jumped won't now. You'll have a handful, like your Johnny Garano or whatever. If he isn't locked up with Impact, because I've seen that moron showed up on Impact.
Yeah, they said he did that as a favor. He didn't sign anything. He did that as a favor for Alex Shelley.
Okay, well then he'll be back on Raw soon. He won't go back to NXT. He'll be back on Raw soon. I feel like Braun Strowman's going to wind up going back.
Oh yeah,
and they're the two I wouldn't sign back, Sasha and Naomi. I've heard they're pursuing.
Yeah, they're already
against them. So
yeah, they're already courting those two.
Well, I assumed last night they were going to show up when Bailey made her return.
Yeah,
two chicks. I've only heard of one of the two. I don't know who the hell the other one is.
I've heard of both of them. They've both been in NXT, and one of them left because their contract was out. One of them was like looking at going Io Shirai or whatever was going to go back to Japan, and then because she had flat out refused to resign all the way up to I guess this past weekend, and then she signed on and showed up last night.
Well, I mean, I was familiar with Dakota Kai, and I'm very vaguely familiar when I say that. But when the three of those showed up, I was looking for Sasha and Naomi to bust up in there and kind of back, Banks. But
yeah,
Becky made her face turn last night. Hopefully, she'll abandon the big time Bex and go back to the man. They got magic there. They'll just not screw it up again.
Yeah, I think the other ones that you'll see. The ones that you might see actually jump is going to be folks. Some of them not going to matter, like Jonathan Gresham and his big blow up with Tony Khan or whatever, and where he cursed him out and stuff after Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
He will try to go over to WWE if they'll have him, but I mean he's not going to make that much of an impact. He's not a.
He's one that. Well, first of all, he's a little long in the tooth. He spent too damn long in the minor leagues, and there's no way to look at it. I mean. As huge a following as Ring of Honor has, it's minor leagues. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And he's getting to be he's not an old man by no means, but to make a huge splash in things, he hasn't done enough in any kind of mainstream anything, and his is a little older. So I mean, I figure if he shows up on NXT, he might can make a splash there, squeeze 2 good years, but I
don't think he'll ever be worth much because he seems to believe his own high power. Because the whole big blow up thing with Tony Khan was that he says he was the champion and he wasn't given this and wasn't given that. And nobody communicated. I can understand nobody communicate with him being an issue, but he's not that important. Nobody outside of Ring of Honor knew who in the world this dude is.
If it wasn't for the mask he wore to the ring, I'd have never knew who he was. I just remember seeing that cool ass looking mask several times on Instagram and Twitter. Hey, that's a pretty damn cool gimmick. I watched a few clips and I was like, hey, this guy's talented. But not, he's not like a mega star by no means.
The only reason I even know who he is at all is because I saw him with I don't know if it's his girlfriend or wife, but Jordan Grace, who's from TNA, that's his girlfriend or wife or whatever she is. And I saw him on her Instagram. That's the only reason I've ever even seen him.
But she is a moron too, so.
Yeah, Brian Cage, though, that's one that I could see making a jump to WWE and doing well, because AEW didn't communicate with him, and he's pretty much out the door from what I saw.
Well, he started the new faction with Tully Blanchard, Blanchard Enterprises or whatever it was. That they were going to, they had a
which they got rid of.
Yeah, like literally, it started in Ring of Honor and then it stopped. Which I don't know where Ring of Honor's even running their shows at, because
they're not.
They made out like they got some stuff going on, unless it's all happening in live shows.
The only thing that I understand they have is just the pay-per-view that they did. They haven't done any TV or any live shows from what I've seen, but I don't follow them enough to know, other than I read that.
Well, so they made it was just all these sketches and backstage, segments and stuff just floating around, unless they're just showing them on AEW Dark, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah, besides that, I just so we can move forward, I did finish SummerSlam. That was good. I had a hard time watching it because I had drove 7 hours, so I was tired by the time I got home and unpacked and sat down to watch it. But not that it was bad, I was tired. But it was actually good. The Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match was really good, and I was hoping to see a different outcome just because I was, I'd like to see doing something different with it, because it's getting a little stale with how Roman is every time, and just destroys everybody and leaves, and then he's not on TV for a while. But I thought that after, and maybe it changed because of the whole Vince retirement, but did you see where Mattel, when they were showing their WWE figures at San Diego, showed the Brock Lesnar with both belts that he never held at the same time, and everybody's like, oh,
yeah.
shit.
Well, there was rumored that they spoiled their own, finish, but I'm thinking that's a deal where he's held both titles, not at the same time, but he has held both of those titles. So that was there, because we've got Stone Cold with multiple titles before that he didn't hold at the same time. So
that's true.
But it wasn't going to surprise me for him to let Brock do it last time. They did a good job of false finishing several times where you thought that, oh shit, they're giving it to Brock, just because you expected at this point. I feel like, first of all, the 700-day reign, that is something that probably will never be duplicated again. So you were too close to it to me to not let it go, because it's just history. Only 4 of the people in the modern era, or in the hell, going back to the golden era, have held the title longer. These are mega names: Bob Backlund, Pedro Morales, Hulk Hogan, and Bruno. So this is iconic. I get it, but I don't want to see him hold it forever. At the same time, it didn't do anything for Brock to beat Roman and win it back. He's only going to be on, at this point, he's actually been on TV more than Roman as of late. But I don't want to see Theory do it either. I was glad to see Theory get his little ass smashed twice last night. Not only by, Lashley, but then again, because he pretty much got squashed by Lashley. And then, he got beat again by Brock later. So I was pretty happy with that. But, I would like to see him build somebody that, at this point, I wouldn't mind seeing, Lashley, be the one to maybe dethrone him. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd like to see him do something. Somebody's got to dethrone him. And it's not that I don't like Roman. It's just I'm tired of seeing the same.
I don't want to rinse and
repeat at this point.
I think this bullshit in the castle pay-per-view that got coming up, that's going to be a throwaway. It's just the only reason Drew's there is because it's the same as letting the Bulldog, main event one night only, or one night stand, or whatever the hell that was in the UK, and then he lost Shawn Michaels, which made no sense.
Yeah, the only other thing I've got from SummerSlam though was, and I got to bring this up, is that you can see the writing on the wall that things are definitely different. The commentary last night went way differently. You can tell that they're not being yelled at in the headset anymore to say this exactly.
They even alluded to it a few times.
When Corey Graves told Michael, I wish you, said, I liked it better when you didn't have an opinion. He said, well, things have changed. A lot of things have changed.
Oh, see, I was having to watch it coming home because we took the kids to a theme park yesterday and then went out, and it was literally the first hour I had to catch on the app. And I was sitting there like, oh, shit, did he just say that? I was like, wow.
That, and then when Corey Graves said something about he used to share a place with Barry Corson, I used to have to sleep on his couch. He said, we're good friends. He said, Michael Cole said, sounds like your problem to me. I was like, damn.
That was
when
pretty
did
cool.
Michael Cole become a decent announcer?
Well, apparently when Vince retired and they broke the fourth wall a little bit and said, you know what, we're going to acknowledge it, which is great though. I mean, I will say that that is probably the best part of this. They're not being, like, oh, hush, hush. Like, no, I don't get beat by daddy. They literally have acknowledged this storyline wise and beyond. Like when Roman's like calling out Theory, like, your daddy's not here no more, but you can call me daddy. And they're like, who's your daddy chanting? I was like, you just buried this kid. He is done for at this point.
Yeah, but you could tell that
I do like that they're doing that.
Now you're still going to have some bad storylines that aren't going to end for a while because they've kind of already invested in them, so they're going to let them run. But so it'll be months before we see a full change. Yeah, but
how cool was Brood Edge returning? That was pretty sweet.
It was a nice intro, but
or a good amalgam of, and we'll see if it sticks that way. I mean, personally, I'd like to see him kind of stay with this dark Brood type of Edge for a little while.
I will give my 2 cents on that. Is the whole thing of he left Judgment Day because he had a falling out with them backstage about doing it as a supernatural team versus just a disgruntled team of folks. And then you returned as a supernatural character, raising up through the fiery steps. That's kind of hypocritical there.
Well, from what I understand, they was kind of going to do some, I don't know if it's so, I'll say blasphemous, but some beyond supernatural, some disrespectful things, I guess, demonic or whatever. There's a difference in playing a vampire type guy character versus demonic and blasphemous, or however you want to go.
If that's
so, maybe he's a semi-man of faith, and I can give him that. I mean, so I'm cool with that. The only 2 big negatives I had, I mean, I was super happy Liv Morgan won myself because I thought it was too early to bury that poor girl.
The way they did it gives you a good follow-up storyline.
Yeah. I mean, you got the Ronda heel turn there, which everyone's been waiting on, and she'll probably make a really great heel because she sucked as a baby face.
She sucks, period, to me.
I don't care for this little shit where she marches to the ring and just destroys everybody. Like, who the hell do you think you are? I don't know. I don't know.
Her Ultimate Warrior fake makeup on.
Yeah, but she'll work better as a heel than a baby face.
By far, I will agree.
My 2 big knocks was one, the Intercontinental Championship was not defended last night.
When's the last time it was?
Well, exactly. Okay. Who is the Intercontinental Champion right now?
I don't know. That's the thing. I have no idea.
I don't either. And I watch. And secondly, AJ Styles did not have a match.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that's just because everything that they've had for him storyline-wise up to this point, he's just been tied up in with nowhere to go, and now it's like, all right, what do you do with him? Well, we got to start him a story, but you can't really do that at the pay-per-view.
I don't want to see him being Jake Paul's fucking mentor, though, which Jake Paul did pull off a pretty sweet, phenomenal forearm. I'll give him that. No,
I don't want to see him fool with him. I'd rather see AJ actually get the bump up and actually be the one to challenge Roman and take his belt, to be honest.
But, I'm fine with that because, AJ had the longest run since CM Punk before Roman took over. Because he had, 375, 85 days, something like that. Or maybe 395, somewhere in there. It was close to 400 days. It was well over a year, which is the longest run since CM Punk had done it 10 years ago, however long it was.
Yeah, I'd like to see him and Balor both get moved back up the card now with Triple H in charge, but that's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, well, Balor, he's stuck sadly where he is right now, which is sad because he can't really pull the demon character out, which is a sweet little gimmick for him as this kind of character. And then they turn on him. Do you really have sympathy for him when he just made them turn on Edge? You know what I'm saying? I mean, something that's going to truly have to happen long term.
Unless he drops them and breaks up the group by him dropping them, and then him and Edge go into a feud, and he pulls out the demon, and you've got Brood Edge versus the demon, then no. But that would be a nice way of doing something with the two of them.
That would be a cool match. Maybe now you could stretch it out. Maybe at Mania, by then it would be ready.
Yeah, but other than SummerSlam, I haven't really watched, and Resident Evil, I haven't watched anything else. I did get my Blu-rays of Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and Green Lantern, and Beware My Power In, but I haven't had time to turn them on and watch them. They got here last week, but I didn't get home until yesterday, so I haven't had a chance to watch them, because when I got here, I had like an hour to unpack and get on to wrestling. so I haven't watched anything
Beware My Power, is that the one with Jon Stewart?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I actually want to see that.
Yeah, it's loaded on.
I need to rob your voodoo later.
Yeah, it's logged into there. I saved it on there yesterday after I got home, but I haven't watched any of it yet.
For those that don't know, I'm that friend that leaches accounts, and Monster hooks me up. Him and Big Rob. So shout out to my boys.
Other than that stuff, it was a huge week for me for stuff to actually start showing up and coming in. I was glad it was, but I was also sad because I was broke by the end of the week. But just to name off some, my pile of loot, I have my Blue Ranger helmet and the power lance show up. That's like $200 right there in itself. My Star Wars Black Series, I got the Wandering Jedi, Obi-Wan, and Darth Vader in. My Thundercats Ultimates Bengali showed up. Couple of items for my son for Christmas showed up in my pile of loot, which most of this stuff wasn't even supposed to be out until October, November. So I was like, ooh, nice to get it early and get it off my budget, but at the same time, it all hit at once.
Man, how many collectors do you think felt the same crunch you and I did this week? Where things have been stuck in limbo, and it's things that we pre-ordered 2 years ago. A lot of this stuff. Yeah, well, it just all started because literally you texted me one day and I was like, had just got the notification, and they're like, time you done that. It was like, Big Bad Toy Stores hit me up. And it was like, bitch.
I have 8 things in my pile of loot, which I haven't shipped yet. I was going to wait till I got home, but I've got that. And then I actually had stuff. When I got home, I actually had 10 boxes in the house. Now, in fairness, 2 of those were movies, the 2 movies I just mentioned from Best Buy because I had pre-ordered them. 1 box was comics, and then there was 1 box from you, and then everything else was either my stuff or stuff for the kid. But I had in my Blackest Night Wave showed up, and each one of them showed up in a separate box except for 2 of them. I was like, Jesus. Because they all shipped within a day of each other. Yeah. My Martian Manhunter showed up. I also got Power Rangers Lightning Collection, Red Sentry, and Metallic Armor White Ranger, which looked really well. But I got to go back to the DC Multiverse because I got those, and they look great. The aesthetics of them are great. And these are things that, in the past, I haven't opened up too many of these figures, so I don't know if this is new or not. Now, in the past, I always said, and you and I have talked this on here before, that the armored figures McFarlane does always look good. Yeah. When you got to the spandex outfit type figures, you're kind of like, they've got some weird cuts. They're too bulky. They don't look just right. The newest ones look very good. Like the aesthetics are getting much better. But the articulation and the posing is horrible. And I don't know if that was a previous thing or a current, because the previous 2 I opened, or actually the previous 3 I opened, a Flash, a Dr. Fate, and a Superman, they're all connected to flight stands and posed in a running or a flying pose, so I don't know how well they stand on their own. All of these that I opened, the Blackest Night ones, and 2 of them I boxed back up to send to you because I just didn't need them. I just wanted to collect the build a figure piece out of. But the Death Storm I kept for the kid, and he can't stand for crap. Now, he looks amazing, but it doesn't matter how you pose him, he will not stand up. The Kyle Rayner doesn't stand worth a crud. I just don't have another flight stand to put him on, so I ordered flight stands today because I had planned on him flying, and he's all right. Now, I will say the material.
All the texture suits they give them.
So that was really interesting, too, because that's like a soft goods on top over the hard plastic. So you can.
Oh, really?
It's not. You can tell, like, when you start moving them and you get to where the joints are, you can see the break in that. And you can actually kind of lift it up a little bit. So it's almost like they went with the hard plastic under, and then on top of that, they just kind of molded a soft type plastic on top. So it actually feels the right texture too.
You know, that's actually pretty cool, Toby McFarlane. And I'll give him some credit on that right there.
That was really cool. But then when you start moving them, like even the Kyle, trying to get him into the flying pose, I want him in. The joints are really tight. You have to break them loose. And then like when you get to the feet and the legs and stuff, like there's no thigh swivel. So you can't kind of position the thighs in different directions to help hold their balance when you pose them. Same thing with their ankles. They only go up and down. They have an ankle tilt, but it only the joint of the ankle is actually connected, so it moves along each other. So instead of just being a ball joint where you can roll it in other directions, you can't really get a good tilt. So it makes it very hard to stand them up. The Atrocitus, the Build-A-Figure, there's one leg that doesn't connect really well. Like I had to force it on. Once it was on there, it was good, and you can move it around. But one of the arms, you pop it in the joint, and if you move it too high or too low, it pops back out. It will not stay in there securely. The other one's perfectly fine. But one of them just, and you could tell when you're looking at the top of them, if you push them both in and lay his arms flat to the side, on one of them you can see the swivel, like all the way down to this part of the shoulder. The other, you can only see it up here. So you can tell one is in and one is not. But I've tried so many different ways and it will not stay in any better. So he's very hard to, once I got him posed, and he would stand up because he's so big, you could just adjust a little bit, get the balance, but the other two don't stand for crap because they're lighter. So And I've ordered some more McFarlane figures. I've got the Blue Beetle and Booster Gold on order because I wanted the Beetle. I really don't care for Booster, and they use the same
you can't
body
have one
mold.
without the other. G, come on.
Yeah, and they use the same body mold for both. So like where Blue Beetle has a cuff around the top of his boot and it's painted black, that cuff is around Booster's boot, but he has an arch to his boot,
really?
so you can see the sculpt, but the paint doesn't match up to it because he's got an arch. It's like the Superman that when they repainted him not long ago and they just drew the line instead of changing
in the
the
past,
sculpt.
I've only went in for I bought the Hellbat and I bought the Azrael Batman because I mean I buy every Azrael figure that pretty much comes out because I just always loved the character growing up. Which was one thing that did hit me, like you said, this past week was my Mayfax Nightfall Batman. Yeah, that I was happy and sad to see him show at the same time. But and speaking of that guy, McFarlane does have a version coming out that looks really great. I'm kind of wondering now that you give this, review how that figure is going to hold up. When you put him out, he looks great. Aesthetically looking, he just
they look amazing.
Wow, they did a great job.
And I've got the Martian Manhunter classic one that came in, but I haven't opened him. I've still got him in the box. I need one to open, but just the posing of them, if you're not putting them on a stand or something, they seem to really struggle. They are made more to be statues than they are figures to me.
I was super surprised at the Tifton Walmart. I went probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. The what's the new Justice League story where the Future Shock or Future whatever it is?
Oh man, it's the Future State storyline.
Future State. They had the Future State Batman there, and I hadn't seen that. I was like, wow, this storyline just is fairly damn recent. And they had a Future State Batman there, and it actually looked pretty damn cool. But you can kind of tell also they really only had to change the head. It's almost like the body off of the Batman where he's got the yellow symbol, but with a different head with a mouthpiece, pretty much. But it still looked really cool. I was surprised to see it out that fast.
Yeah, I said all of these looked really good, and they felt good, especially like this, like the texture and stuff they gave them and how they did it. It's just they just don't pose very well. Now, once you get them in a pose and you can keep them there, they look okay as long as they stay standing. The other problem I have with them is one that you and I talked before when the figure has toe joints. Most toe joints fail on figures, and it has those on every one of them.
Absolutely. I am not a big fan of those, actually.
No, that's probably the worst thing it has. But with that's kind of all the stuff that came in, which was a lot of stuff. But it was just a stacked week. But we're running a little closer on time, so why don't we jump ahead to our focus topic? We were going to delve into some of the SDCC 2022 news. We're not going to cover it completely as news, just the stuff we wanted to talk about. So.
There's actually very little there media-wise, really. There was a shit ton of figures and collectibles, but there wasn't a ton of media this go around.
No, I will say there were several trailers and stuff they announced that they showed. They were more announcements and trailers that were worthwhile, but there wasn't a lot of good panels. I didn't really listen to any of the panels, to be honest. Trailer-wise, though, there was several of those I watched and enjoyed, so. Oh, we kick off with the first one. We had John Wick 4, since we're talking John Wick next week. What did you think about that one? Or did you get to see that one?
I've watched it twice, actually. It looked, it's got which I'm a sucker for senseless violence anyway. So, it doesn't, I got enough, like part 1 is very, very character-driven, story-driven, to where the sequels can all just be mindless violence of everyone wanting revenge upon him and wanting to, cash in on him, so to speak. So I'm cool with it. It looked good. It looks to be a non-stop action ride, which I love. So, when you have a hard time knowing when you can get up and go to the bathroom, that's my type movie.
I enjoy So I will go ahead and give my fair assessment of the series as a whole. As the first one, fantastic. Second one, good. From there, it was kind of downhill for me. 3 was harder to watch because there was really no story. It was really just violence, which the action wasn't bad. And the fourth one looks to be similar to the third one, but I'm holding out hope that it's a little bit more story-driven than the third one was. But there was a couple scenes in that in the trailer that really stood out to me. Like the one that stood out to me the most is where he's hitting the guy over and over with the nunchucks. I was like, now that's the proper way to actually use that weapon, is just bludgeon the hell out of somebody. He was just beating that guy in the head with him, just consistently, just pat, pat, pat. It looked like he was trying to play drums but didn't know how.
The only thing I worry about is, do they jump the shark and he fights ninjas in this shit? Because they look like the villain may be a ninja-esque type warrior. We got that enough in the last one.
Donnie Yen is the main villain, isn't he? And he's a martial artist, so that's his thing, I guess.
But we literally just went through that with the last one. I mean, and it played out, it worked out well. But it was like the part where he's like, "Oh man, I was such a big fan of yours," but he's still trying to kill him the whole time. It was like, I got that, I dug that, but I mean, I don't. We don't need another ninja, the hand assassin.
And for those out there who want to hear more about John Wick and our discussion of it, join us next time. That means you, Big Rob, because I know you've already asked about it. But with that, some other trailers we saw. Did you see the Dungeons and Dragons trailer?
I seen some stills of it. It didn't strike my fancy enough to draw me into watch it for 3 minutes.
So I enjoy fantasy stuff. Now, I've never been a Dungeons and Dragons player, and I didn't care for the old 80s cartoons, but I enjoy fantasy movies, and this one had a comedic value to the fantasy parts of it. So it actually struck my interest after watching. When I first heard, I was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Eh." But then I watched the trailer and I was like, "All right, that was actually pretty humorous. I want to see that now."
You know, I think when you guys sent it to me, maybe it was Big Rob sent it to me, and I just had the briefest flashback of Marlon Wayans' Dungeons and Dragons. I said, "Nope."
It's not quite that bad, and it has Chris Pine in it, and I like him. So. What else did we see? You probably didn't see this. I was watching one. This is from a panel, and it wasn't really a preview, but the Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which is the one with Christopher Pike's ship, and before the Enterprise, before Kirk and them. So they have their animated show Lower Decks as well, which is a very, very adult comedy one. It's kind of like watching Family Guy in space. Honestly, it's the best way I could probably.
So it's Rick and Morty, basically.
Kind of, yeah, and they are. The main guy in that though is voiced by Huey from The Boys. What's his name? Oh,
okay.
Is it Tom Hanks' son? Is that who it is? No.
Is that who it is?
No, maybe not. I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember his name. So he's somebody's son. He's another.
It's Dennis Quaid's son.
Yes. He's the main voice in Lower Decks. So they're doing the Strange New Worlds trailer, and him and the main female from Lower Decks come walking out. I was like, "Hey, where's our seat? You guys didn't invite us?" They're like, "Your panel was last." They're like, "Oh, I thought we were on this show too." So apparently they're doing a crossover between the animated show and Strange New Worlds, and they're gonna do it as animated and live action in tune with each other. So I actually want to see that because that'll probably be funny. DC's panels. I was really disappointed that they didn't do the big thing. Everybody kept saying that Henry Cavill is going to come out, but DC flat out announced that we are done with Snyderverse stuff, and we are moving on from that, which for me at this point... But then
we get a picture this very week of, Ben Affleck as Batman and Aquaman 2.
Yeah, so I'm assuming whatever they had in play is still in play, but anything after that is not. But to be honest, I'm fine with that. Snyderverse stuff never resonated to me to be DC, because DC's always been brighter and happier and more hopeful. It's less grounded. Them doing all the dark stuff, like his version of Superman, while those were great movies and Henry Cavill was a good Superman, it's not Superman to me. It was too dark. Superman's supposed to be hopeful and all that kind of stuff, and it was like, it just didn't hit the mark for me on that. His Justice League,
he did a pretty good job of doing it right up until the next snap. He had me sold as him being Kal-El up until the next snap with Zod, and then that next movie they tried to rebound with it, but their Batman was, I ain't gonna say too dark because I'm fine with a dark Batman. He was just a moron apparently. Until they had the same mother name, just totally cool with killing Superman. I mean,
yeah. See, I just wasn't a fan of it. And that's like his Justice League. Was it better than the one they released in the theaters? By far.
Yes.
Was it great?
No. It was not Avengers.
You could have cut an hour out of that movie if you'd have just sped up all the slow motion scenes to normal time. I went back and actually timed a bunch of those slow motion scenes. It's like 48 minutes of slow motions. I'm like, Jesus Christ, could you not have taken some of this out? Yeah, I was bored one day.
I would say so.
And I am that person that it was bothering me, so I had to know. I did see the Shazam 2 trailer. Now, Shazam is probably the one that they got the most correct to DC books to me, for the most part, like the tone of it, I guess.
Other than him spreading his powers out amongst everyone, I'm still not a big fan of that because
No, that was a New 52 thing. I don't care for that.
Yeah, I didn't care for that. I mean, I'm cool with, Freddie and Mary having their powers or whatnot because they did it in the books.
Yeah.
But the Wizard Shazam give them these powers and abilities.
Yes.
So it's not just almost spread my abilities out amongst you guys. And okay, that kind of makes you a lot more one-dimensional now, because really you only should all have one of your abilities instead of all of them. But hey.
Well, and see, that's the way that they tried to portray it on there. But they tried to hint at that. Now in the books, they did that a little bit better. Like the young girl is mostly about the speed. She has the other powers, but she relies on the speed. The one kid who's the heavier set kid is normal, and then when he Shazams up, he's got the super strength. That was his big thing. So that made more sense to me. In the movies, they kind of alluded to that, but they still gave him all the powers.
Yeah, so there's 5 Shazams running around, or Captain Marvel in my universe. But hey,
yeah. Well, I will say though, this movie has some of the best. This trailer has some of the best humor points in a trailer to me. Is like when he's laying on the psychiatrist's couch. It looks
like a fun watch. I won't go to the theater, but it is like a fun watch.
He tickled me when he's like, there's already a hero who wears red and has a lightning bolt, and you've already got Superman because he's Superman. Aquaman gets the whole ocean, and well, Batman's Batman. It's like, what am I supposed to be?
That was actually pretty good.
That and when he tells the guys who were sitting there talking, they're like, "You're just a child. You don't know anything." He's like, "I've seen all the Fast and Furious movies. I know it's about family," and he expects them to come behind him. He's like, "I said that's all about family." They still don't show up. That tickled me hard. That one got me.
Black Adam looked pretty good.
Yeah, in relation to it though, Black Adam is the other one, and that's I want to see Black Adam, but to me, it's hard for me to see that character being the main character of the whole movie. I would have rather just had a Justice Society movie, because the Justice Society is what looks amazing in that movie to me.
Well, he's fighting them the entire movie, but and they're like, it's been said multiple times that he's not a villain, but he's not really the hero either. So if he's fighting the Justice Society the entire time, what is he? That's pretty much a villain to me.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure that part out, but I do love how the Justice Society looks amazing in that movie. The Hulk Man looks really cool. I like how they gave him kind of the metal wings instead of feathered ones. The Dr. Fate looked really neat.
Aside from the mask, I wish the mask had eye holes, but yeah, I'm cool with Pierce Brosnan being Dr. Fate. I think that'd be really cool because I loved him in Penny Dreadful. He done so he can do a darker character. So I'm kind of cool with it.
Yeah. What about the Marvel Phase stuff? Did you get to see any of that or watch any of those?
I did, and I'm gonna be honest. I'm super stoked for Phase 6, which is crazy that they're already like, okay, Phase 4 is done. The stuff we got out now that wraps that up.
Yeah. This
is Phase 5, and we're already going to show you everything for 6. 6 looks great. But to me, it almost looks like a bit of a lull. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there is a ton of content coming out for Phase 5. But a lot of it is more of the street level heroes, or I don't want to say not important, but it's lower movies. Tier. I feel like if you miss these movies, you're not going to miss anything come Phase 6.
Yeah,
and maybe it's just because I was let down because I wanted to see something on Fantastic Four. I wanted to see something on X-Men. I don't want to see that, okay, we're going to tell you that in 3 years we're going to have Phase 6 and this is what it is. Yeah. And after that, you get the X-Men and Fantastic Four. No, I don't want to wait 10 years to have this shit. We waited long enough.
I'll say this too. I like having some of the stuff, but at the same time, I like how Phase 6 looks, where the only thing they showed was a Fantastic Four and the 2 Avengers movies, the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, because like there's getting to a level of burnout too. It's like you put so much content out that how much of it really matters anymore, and how much of it can you keep up with? So I kind of like having the movies and having them spread out more. Like I like the shows. Like I loved Moon Knight. She-Hulk actually looks really good coming up.
It does.
I definitely want the Daredevil, but some of the others, like the Miss Marvel, as much as I enjoyed it, if I could have done without having another show too. I mean, if you just give me a longer stretch, then maybe if you gave more people a longer stretch, maybe Thor wouldn't be getting some of the backlash it's getting. Just like, it's just the same old. It's again. Now, if you'd have had nothing between, say, what was the last one? Was Eternals the last movie in theaters? No, Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, but you had Spider-Man and Doctor Strange crammed on top of each other, like literally just a few months apart.
Yeah, but those kind of connected. But if you'd have left several months between Doctor Strange and Thor, I think you could have had less of a burnout from, okay, hey, here's some of the comedy elements of Thor and stuff. And I don't know. I just think having more of a lull sometimes. What's the rest of the wrestling saying? Go away and learn. If you don't leave, how can I miss you?
Yeah,
go in.
I know you really don't
before-
have. Do we have anything else slated big for this year? Or does Black Panther 2 come out this year?
Yeah, November.
Okay. And I'll be honest, I wasn't that big on it. I mean, I'm happy Namor is finally showing up.
I like that.
Some of what they've done with him, I'm cool with. The fucking nose thing, I'm not a fan of at all. I don't like that. To me, I get we had the passing of Chadwick, unfortunately, but I don't know. I don't want to see his kid sister be Black Panther. I'm sorry, and I'm not trying to be sexist here, ladies, if you're listening. It just doesn't do it for me. I'd rather see Killmonger return or recast myself.
Yeah, I could have done them. If you're going to have him actually go full blown with Namor stuff, I would have rather seen a recast. If you were going to do another movie or something in between for like number 2 was something else, and they were honoring his memory and his loss and stuff, and you allude back to the character, but you never show anybody else in the costume or something, I'd have been fine with that.
Well,
but
I feel
you can't
like she's
do that
a strong
with
enough
Namor
character. So maybe if you could have wanted to do the girl power thing, give her a spinoff in a Disney Plus series. Because I mean, really, this looks more like a launching vehicle for Ironheart. And a few other odds and ends, honestly.
And they're leading up to a Young Avengers with that, with Ironheart, Miss Marvel. You had Patriot and Falcon and Winter Soldier. You had Wiccan and Speed or whatever his name is, and WandaVision. If you're going to go that route, Shuri should have just been another member of that team because she was so young. I will say my biggest complaint with it was I like seeing Namor, and I like how they're giving him almost like an Aztec looking type culture to what became Atlantis, and the way Namor looks with that fits. Now, the first time I saw it, before I realized that's what they were doing, because I watched the preview real quickly and I just kind of missed him. I was like, why is he so tan? He lives under the ocean. Wouldn't he be super pale like he is in the comics? Then I watched it again, and they were like, "Oh, it's everything that he has. Like he has ziggurats and stuff, and it's more like an Aztec culture." Like, okay, well now it makes sense. Maybe they came from that culture,
Well, you know what? I'm fine with the Nick jewelry. He's got some more trunks-looking things than the Speedo. That's cool.
I don't need the Speedo.
He still has the ankle wings, but I don't know. The two biggest things to me was the nose bar and the massive earrings.
Yeah,
because he's got the the pointy ears like he's supposed to have. I just feel like that takes away from that. To me, it's a little too much going on.
I agree, and I didn't even notice the nose thing until the figure. And I looked at the figure, I was like, "Why is he blowing boogers?" And then I realized it's some kind of green jewelry.
Well, it looked like his nostrils was inflared, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And then I got looking closer, and it wasn't the figure promo art, I think. And I kind of scrolled, and I was on Instagram, and I was like, "Oh, that's not a good look." No.
Yeah, I'm not about that. I will say though that a couple of the other things that they shared, and I don't think these were shared, and they're not necessarily movie ones. But She-Hulk, the new preview for She-Hulk looks much better.
It does.
They fixed a lot of the CGI. Some of the CGI, like when they're talking, there's certain scenes when like her and Hulk are talking to each other, and it looked like the Japanese style movies where the dubbing comes after the mouth movement.
Like you want to pause it to see if your DVR has done the weird thing where like you pause it and rewind a second and go back and it's fine.
Now when she breaks the fourth wall and looks towards the camera and they have her talking to some other like normal people, it looks fine. It's just when the two animated characters were talking, it's like something's off with that. Maybe it was just in that preview. I don't know, but man, that ending scene with the yellow and red Daredevil, and I swear I thought it was the same red and black suit from the Netflix show until the kiddo pointed out to me it is not. He got some stills. It's actually the yellow and red version of that suit.
Okay, well I missed that then.
Yeah,
I seen him pop up, but I thought he was in the like black outfit actually.
I thought it was the red and black like he had after he got maybe at the end of his first or second season when he actually got his superhero suit. It looks like that, but it's like they took all the black and painted it yellow, so it looks like it's red and yellow like his original color design. Okay. That excited me, and that going straight into the Daredevil Born Again announcement that this is
18
Charlie
episodes.
Cox. Yeah, full show. I mean, this is not just a short series like do everything else. And you got Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio back, and then not at San Diego, but later in the week they announced that John Bernthal was signed back on for some episodes as the Punisher.
Well, we had discussed this a few times, and I kept telling you I felt like this was the route they were going to go with him. And, it was up in the air a little bit, but, things just kept getting put out there that made it feel like this is where they're going. So I was pretty stoked with that. I am happy about that part.
That looked cool, and I was glad to see him. I mean, I like him as Punisher, and there's nobody else to me now. After seeing for a long time, I couldn't have seen anybody but Thomas Jane. I didn't even like Ray Stevenson or whatever his name was as Punisher Warzone or whatever it was. But then John Bernthal was like, all right, I forget all about Thomas Jane. That's my Punisher there. That's the only person I can see playing it now.
I was kind of the same boat you're talking about right there, because Thomas Jane done such an amazing job, even though the movie was a little not as hardcore as what a Punisher was, which is the only plus I did give to Warzone. It's a fun movie to watch because while Ray Stevenson, he's not what you feel like. I mean, he doesn't just visually say, okay, this is the Punisher.
Yeah.
The character-wise, story-wise, that was blood, guts, Punisher. Yeah, but he went with, it was more Punisher Max. He had the slick back hair. It's an enjoyable watch, but, I was still Thomas Jane. And then Berthal comes along, and it's like, whoa, my dog right here. He just totally took it over.
I was having this conversation with somebody at work this week while we were waiting on another meeting to get started, and we were just sitting there talking about it because he likes the movies and stuff, and he's like, I can't see anybody else playing him. I was like, he said, for a long time for me it was Thomas Jane. I was like, I agree. I said, did you ever see? And I asked him if he ever saw the YouTube video, the laundry or whatever it was called.
That was pretty cool.
Seen that was a good one. They never even say who he is or his name, but at the end he pulls out the shirt out of the laundry, and that's the only thing in there. That was actually
cool. Get a release to the Comic-Con one year?
I want to think it did, but I don't want to swear by it, so because I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it did.
I'm almost positive it did, because it was like, while they never alluded to it, was just something he thought was fun to do, and they done for a small budget. And
yeah.
So what did you think of Phase 5? I mean, what are your thoughts?
I'm fine with the lower tier stuff. If I don't, I'm gonna watch all of it anyway because it's me.
Of course.
But I'm fine only because the fact I feel like it gives me a little bit of a stretch before something big. But I worry that it's gonna burn the rest of the audiences out because all these people who are only MCU fans are not really true comics fans and they don't really know the difference. They're gonna be like, oh, you gotta see all this and it's this, and I'm like, they don't really matter as much.
Is far easier lost than gained. I mean, we know this better than anybody, with now that we're doing a show ourselves. But that's what I worry about. Do you lose the mainstream audience? Like we're going to watch. That's what I'm getting at. Do you lose the mainstream audience with this 1.5 year gap here till we get to 6? And then is it going to be enough to pull them back? Yeah,
and there's some of these shows, like I enjoyed Moon Knight. I enjoyed, Miss Marvel and stuff. But at the same time, I see how a mainstream audience is not necessarily going to be that into it. And do you really need those to tell just to bridge a gap for the next movie? The only one so far that you've needed to bridge anything for a movie was WandaVision. The rest of them have just kind of been there.
And while it's nice to see them introduce characters like Moon Knight and Miss Marvel and so forth, and She-Hulk would be cool. You don't need any of these to know what's going on in the MCU universe. WandaVision, if you had to watch it, you would be kind of like, other than Vision dying at the end of, 2 movies earlier.
Yeah.
Why?
So I will tell you what I saw somebody else do this week because they got to talking about this on one of the podcasts I was listening to while I was waiting on a meeting to start, and something we might could delve into as well. But they took all the Marvel, something out of a Marvel phase, or actually they were just doing the TV shows, and they were like, all right, if I look at the stuff in Phase 4 that was TV show, what was average, what was slightly above average, what was slightly below, what was great. And they were talking about, in Phase 1 of Marvel, it's actually Phase 1 through 3, you had a lot of stuff to them that was just kind of like average or slightly above average, but because you had that and a few greats, but you had very few that were poor, the average was much higher for those phases. But then if you look at what is going on now, it's like the average might be lower because there's more just average stuff that's not great anymore. I was like, that's an interesting concept. And if we went through every movie and TV show they've done, how would we rate them? And again, and say, okay, here's the level set. Here's average. Now what's above and what's below? And you see, is the average moving down? Is that happening? Because that's what they were discussing. I was like, they may have a point there. I haven't really looked at it.
That may be what we need to knock out the week after next is the 6 phases, what we know of, what we've seen and what we haven't, and kind of a grading of how we feel they're progressing. You guys let us know.
Actually, if you are interested in hearing that conversation, let us know in the comments, because that might determine what we do in a couple weeks. Because we do have something planned for next week already, as we've talked about. Review Rewind. But the last thing that I saw that really piqued my interest was, and there was no preview, but the X-Men 97 stuff. Like, man, I love that show, and
that's cool.
The more they showed of that, the only thing I'm not a fan of is having Magneto on the team. Now, I get it; it's almost that happens in the comics. That happened on the show. Professor X left at the end of the original show, but I could have done without him. But the character designs are on point. The new characters they showed, some of them like Sunspot and stuff, just stood out, as a bright, shining moment. I'm so excited to see that when it comes around, and they've already signed that.
We got Chamber too, don't they?
I might have missed him. I don't remember seeing him. I saw Cable.
I seen some promo art today on Instagram, and I was like, it looked like legit art. Also, I mean, maybe I'm glossing over and it's fan art, but I mean, I thought it was part of some stuff I seen for that.
It may be. I mean, they haven't released a huge amount of details other than what they showed at Comic-Con and the character design stuff. I did see, the only one I saw I didn't like was they've gone to the white head of Morph like he was in Exiles versus the.
Yeah, I was curious about that. I mean, what is the deal with that?
I don't know.
I'm really cool with Aurora having the Mohawk. That's cool. But yeah, the white-headed morph, and I'm a fan of that look. Don't get me wrong, but that's what made the other the two morphs stand out from one another.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too, is you mentioned the Mohawk, but I saw a closer picture, and it's not the full Mohawk. She just has short hair, and the hair on the top and center is longer, but it's not a true Mohawk. So it's not shaved on the sides and stuff. So I like that a little bit better after I saw it closer. I mean, I wasn't going to complain either way, but I mean, I am excited to see that.
I'm pretty excited about that late '80s Magneto look. I mean, that's the only time he sported it in the books.
Yeah. I mean,
so to get it in the animation style, that's pretty cool to me. I mean, it probably won't last long, but I mean, they're going in Sinister, so I get why they would be with one another.
I get him being there, and if he doesn't stay the entire time, I'll be happier. I don't care to see him on the team versus being the antagonist against them, right?
Well, I mean, they've announced that they've got 2 seasons coming.
Yes,
correct. I feel like Professor Xavier shows back up at the end of the next season.
I hope so.
And then, we get Magneto back as a bad guy come, the following season.
I would hope so, but I am excited to see it either way. I mean, for me, that was pretty much all the big media type stuff that I saw. I didn't know if there was any others that you saw or no. I will say I watched the preview for Sandman too, and that was okay, but it wasn't memorable because I don't remember much about it other than seeing the
Samaritan looks far better than that to me.
Oh, dude, that does look good.
That looks really good.
That comes out soon too, doesn't it? Like next week or something.
On Prime. Yeah, that looks amazing.
That one looks good. I am excited to see it, and that was the first I had seen of it when they started. When they talked about it there, and then last night during SummerSlam, they played that commercial every few minutes because they were sponsoring them. As to a point I got to, I was like, I've seen this preview. Give me a different one. I'm tired of seeing it, but it does look like a great movie.
Well, I follow Sly on, Instagram, and so he has a few things about it on there, but he hadn't flooded, nothing like heavy promotion on there. So then when I finally seen it, I was like, oh shit, that looks pretty cool.
I like it when he's laying on the ground after getting hit by the car or whatever, and the kid's like, are you okay? I'm cool.
Yeah. You don't sound it.
Yeah, the big thing to me out of San Diego, though, really was the toy news. I mean, there was a lot of toy announcements. I'm not even going to try and cover all of them or catch up, but there were a few that caught our interest. I know you and I both went in for the Dr. Mindbender from Hasbro. Sergeant Slaughter going up for sale. That was the big one. I was like, to me, that was the biggest one. I was like, I need that. When's it coming?
Yeah, I think we were all clamoring that day.
And dude, they have sold out of it 3 different times on Hasbro Pulse. Like, they allot so much quantity for their pre-sales, and they've sold out 3 different times. Big Bad, of course, hasn't, but most of the stores just order and order and order. They don't really have a stock set, but yeah. But he sold out 3 different times. I saw the renders too for Shipwreck, Gung Ho, Copperhead, Torpedo. They're not colored or anything yet, but that's Shipwreck and the Torpedo.
Well, actually, I shared it on our page earlier today. A fan went on and actually give them all color schemes.
Yeah,
So that you
I saw
got
that.
a good idea. The only one I wasn't keen on was rock and roll. I wasn't.
Yeah,
And I get it. Originally he had the full green or full blue, but I wasn't as big on that right there. I was like, but
yeah, I would have liked to have seen because he was he on Slaughter's Marauder? I'd have liked to have seen him be on that or Tiger Force.
He was that or Tiger Force. I don't remember one of the two.
And I think I said gung ho a minute ago, and I meant rock and roll, but that was I just lost my train of thought there for a minute. I did see some of the other Hasbro stuff. There was a lot of stuff they put out that I went in for. That they got the two other Marvel Heralds in the pack, the Terrax and Fallen one. Fallen one for some reason looks like Silver Surfer screaming with some hair on him for some reason. It's kind of a. I mean, there's not much to that character, but it looks cool. Terrax, and I think you made this comment to me. The Terrax looked very smooth instead of kind of a rocky exterior, which
he was a
smooth rock, but he should have been more like concrete.
Well, yeah, but it didn't even have any cracks at all anywhere. Like he had that kind of like just a textured effect to him in the last figure they put out. This one here just like shove some blue arms on him or gray or whatever. And
yeah, I mean he's never been rocky like the Thing, but he's always been kind of concrete looking, like he's made out of live concrete, and he kind of looked a little too smooth. I mean, I still went in for him for my Galactus, but the Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends pack, that was pretty cool. I mean, it was all repaints, and I was disappointed that the Iceman didn't have green eyes, but that's
what kept me from ordering that pack. If he'd had green eyes, I would have went in, but I just like, nope.
But I went and looked at the Firestar because I was like, oh, that's the exact same one. They just repainted her. And the head sculpt is, and I think the upper body's the same, but the lower body is actually the pinless female body. So there's a little bit of difference in her and the one they released in the single pack, but it's just for like what limbs they use, it looks like. The Miss Lion, which was the little dog they had on the show, was a different shade of color than the one that they released with the Firestar figure. I was like, I need this, but it's probably going to stay boxed. I don't need to open these by any means. They're figures that I already have in some form or fashion, but I couldn't resist getting them.
And you'll never get to see them because they're not in a windowless packaging.
I know, I hate that shit. I did see that they announced though that even though they're doing full boxing on that stuff, anything that's supposed to have a package with a bubble or anything like retro cars, they were continuing to use those with the plastic. I did get the Retro Beast, and I had to get two of him because I got to open one, and I didn't buy two of him originally to open him because it's the same figure as before, just with glasses and the lab coat and stuff.
You get an alternate head with glasses.
Yeah, but I got to open one, and I need him in the retro card because it looks so cool.
Yeah, I went in for him on retro card. I'll be honest, I didn't go in for a ton of legends. What rate my pocket other than the Joes, like because I went heavy on Joes. WWE.
See, I didn't buy any.
They crushed my wallet.
I don't collect any of their stuff. I mean, for Legends, honestly, that one got me for a good chunk because I did get the Heralds, the Spider-Man, and Amazing Friends, and the Retro Beast. Like, I didn't go for the Scorpion, but in the Walmart Collector Con, I had to get the Lizard for the kid, so it's on the card back and stuff.
I got Lizard and Scorpion. I did go both of those.
I mean, they look great. I don't collect too many of the bad guy ones usually, but I needed the Lizard for him because that's his favorite one. But yeah, I went for some, and then the DC Multiverse. They didn't get me at the show because they didn't do anything then. But that Blue Beetle and Booster Gold pack I ordered that classic Martian Manhunter during the weekend because I kept holding off, and I finally broke down. And I'm waiting on the Parallax and that Nightfall Batman to hit Walmart. I've got them saved.
I need both of those.
And I need two of at least one of them, if not both, because I gotta open both of them. I just can't decide if I need to close and open Nightfall Batman or not.
That's the thing I've been on the fence about, and especially after you told me your review of them, I was like, "Ooh, do I open or not? Do I just get one and keep it in the box?" Because it does have the bubble, fortunately, where I can display. Yeah. And sometimes I'm a little more fine with not having a loose figure if I can display the bubble. You know, you can still see it in a cool ass pose typically. And my Malfax ass bat will be here, so I may not. But that Parallax, I really do dig it. I'm not crazy about the silver only being in the back of the head. Like I did have to call Top McFarlane out on Twitter about this, but you know, I wanted the temples.
The hairline is a little off, but he's one that I got to have open because I started a new shelf after I got Atrocitus and Kyle, I haven't took pictures of it because I haven't really posed it up. I sent it to you, I think, yesterday. Cause I haven't posed them up, took pictures just because I'm missing flight stands and stuff. But Parallax has got to go down there, and since that's kind of McFarlane shelf / 90s toys shelf. I mean, if you get thinking about Parallax and Batman,
I feel like
put them down there.
You're missing the bar on a 0 hour shelf, Monster. I'm gonna be honest. They do have a black suit Superman. Just saying.
This is probably going to be as close as I get to that type of 90s 0 hour shelf because I'm going to put Parallax and then Nightfall Batman down there.
The question is,
Kyle Rayner and Atrocitus down there.
If they do a cool looking Dan Jurgens version of mulleted Superman, do you go for it?
I almost, if I had gotten to town earlier and I wasn't so tired yesterday, I would have went to the toy department, the local vintage toy store here, because they actually had the Mafex version of that Superman, and they had him for $60 because he's been opened.
Oh wow!
I was like, ooh, I would pay that for that one. They had the Hush one too, but I couldn't see the price tag on it because I wanted that Hush Superman because he looks so amazing.
Jim Lee art is always a win.
So I haven't gone by there. If I go by there and they still have those for that price, I might dip into them for them just because I like them. But I don't know. That shelf will be kind of a 90s era / McFarlane. I mean, Atrocitus and that version of Kyle Rayner I've got are not 90s version. Now, Kyle's a 90s character, but yeah, that's not the version of them. But they look cool, and they'll fit in with Parallax and Nightfall Batman. And Booster Gold and Blue Beetle will be down there because I'll end up opening them. I didn't get them with the intentions of leaving them in the box just because.
Parallax and Booster could be fucking with the time stream. There you go.
Yeah. So what WWE stuff did you go in for that you said tore your pocket up?
First and foremost, had to get the mega powers. Yeah. Dude, that even though they put the little cape on Macho that I wasn't big about, you have a set of hands with them two shaking hands. I already know I'm gonna open this fucker. There's no way around it. It's getting opened. And they will be posed in the handshake. I'm super, super pumped about that right there. I was like, because I done went in for a few things before I seen it. And then they hit you with that almost last. And I was like, you sons of bitches.
Can you pose it where, because I didn't look at that, because you pose it where he's holding his other arm like how they did when they shake hands?
I believe if you look online, there's actually a picture of it looking that way.
Oh, so that's actually
because both of them come with like a goofy expression on their alternate head, which is like I guess for like the snapshot that's maybe iconic, and they both got this goofy look on their face.
Yeah.
If you wanted to change it to that there, so yeah, I had to go in for that. But that was just some really really cool ones. There's another Macho King that looks really great that may or may not have been ordered. 2 different Ultimate Warriors that look fucking amazing because you finally get the purple suited. It's not the mullet look that Warrior had. It's the way he had his hair slicked in this one particular match where it give a mullet.
Did one of them have a face for Dingo Warrior?
Yes, I didn't go in for that one. I did not. I had to restrain because it was basic tights and boots, and I was like, "It's kind of cool from a collector standpoint." But I didn't go in for that. I did go in for. Well, I guess I went in for 3 Machos because I went in for Macho King, the Mega Powers Macho. Then I went in for the Target exclusive, even though I said I wouldn't buy shit up for Target, which is the NWO. I went to Matty Collector and I did get the Cody Rhodes because I kept weighing the options between that and the AEW Supreme. And when I got to looking at the head scan, because even though the body and some of the stuff on the AEW Supreme looks better, face scans are no dude. There's no touch. He's got his crazy look on the AEW one, and then you look at compare it to the Mattel, so much better. It's like crazy how much better.
Since you mentioned the Matty Collector, that reminded me of something that I tried to get the He-Man 40th anniversary set where him and Skeletor are there and have the metal weapons. Mm-hmm. I got on there, I got it in the cart, and you know how Mattel makes you sit there until you get to your turn in line to check out instead of just processing through like every other site. I was in line for 9 minutes. I got on there at 12:02, and they dropped at 12, and they sold out in under 10 minutes. So I missed it by like 2 minutes.
Ooh. I've had that happen to me before on Matty Collector, and it's like I forget what it was. It was pretty big about 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, the Sergeant Slaughter, because you and I both tried to get that Sergeant Slaughter.
Oh, dude!
Because I didn't think we were going to get a classified one. I was like, that's going to have to go on my GI Joe shelf, and we both tried.
We were both like, whoever gets it, get 2.
Yeah,
and then neither of us
we both failed.
Yeah,
I wasn't as mad. I would have liked to have had the He-Man thing. I wasn't as mad about it just because I'd already ordered that 40th anniversary He-Man. It's the same figures, just with die-cast metal weapons. That was the other thing that I ordered a bunch of. I forgot about it was the He-Man. I ordered 40th anniversary He-Man a while back, so it's been on order for a little bit now. And then I also ordered that She-Ra that they were doing in the Masterverse line and the Zodak because they were two of my favorite characters. But then they revealed Stratos and Roboto, and I'm like, oh, those look good. I got to have them when they make them. They're not out yet, but I also ordered that. There's a Battle Armor He-Man that was a Walmart exclusive, and it's the Masterverse one, and he's got the chest for like the old Battle Armor, and you can change out the thing on it where he has damage and stuff. And that was one of my favorite He-Men. So I had to order it, even though I don't like the head on it, because he's got like longer hair and a beard, but he looks very animated. And I did order the New Adventures of He-Man, the Target exclusive He-Man they did. I was like, darn it, now I'm delving into this one where I got to get everything in line. So like this weekend when I got home and I had hotel points, I ordered Moss Man that I didn't have, and who was the other? I ordered Moss Man and I ordered Man at Arms because I didn't have them.
Okay.
I was like, damn, now I done delved into this line, so now it's going to break me. But the only nice thing about that line is if you wait long enough on Target, everything goes to like $12 to $13 for them because they don't ever sell out of them. So like Zodak, I pre-ordered them for $13.99. I was like, oh, nope, I'm buying that. Because normally
I've got to figure out a way to
piece.
get the Bret Hart Ultimate that is apparently going to be a Target exclusive. And I haven't seen. I showed him there. It was great. It's
I haven't seen
all
any
pink
details
Royal
on
Rumble, but I have not seen a for sale up on it yet at all. So there's a Rick Rude Build-A-Figure on that one wave. I want the figure. I don't want the whole wave, but I would like to have that Rick Rude Build-A-Figure.
If you remind me on the Bret Hart one, we'll work that one out because I get a lot of stuff from Target. So even though I hate their ordering system.
I was trying to look back because I'm missing something. There was something else that I did go in for wrestling figure wise. So I was hoping to look on this page and find it, but of course it's.
And while you're looking at that, I actually had a note from the kid because I told him what we were going to be talking about, and he's like, "Don't forget that NECA Ray Fillet figure for Ninja Turtle," because I loved Ray Fillet. That was one of my favorite. Ray Fillet and Ace Duck were my two favorite mutants that weren't part of the Turtles clan. Yeah, or wasn't one of the Turtles, and now NECA has done both of those. Like I missed the Ray Fillet because I don't want to buy that whole 2-pack just for him.
No,
but the Ray Fillet I think is going to be a single pack, and if that's the case, I'll probably buy him when he comes out. But with that, unless you find what you were looking for, I think that brings us pretty much to the end of what I had for SDCC.
It does.
I didn't get it. Honestly, there wasn't a lot of comic announcements, which kind of disappointed me. Like they hit a couple of things, but nothing that stood out. I think the biggest one I saw was the Spawn Batman's going to do another crossover this coming year.
Yeah, I saw that. It was.
I wasn't really impressed. Now I did see the Power Ranger stuff, which I've been really into. Is doing their charge towards 100, and after 100 they get a new creative team and they're recombining because they have 2 books now, Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers, and after the 100th issue they're going to become one book again. It's just Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So I didn't see much else, honestly.
I was surprised at the lack of actual comic, at Comic-Con.
Yeah, me as well. But with that, why don't we move into our Nerd Out section? This is the part of the show, everyone, where we ask each other questions. If you haven't been here before, if you have, you kind of know how this works. If not, we ask random questions about the topics of the day. We don't give each other a whole lot of time to prepare any answers because we don't know what we're going to ask. So you get our honest, quick opinions. And if you'd like to expand on anything we share or give your answers to our questions, feel free to do that in the comments below. We always love to hear from you. But with that, Hassel, since you went first on the Geek Week, why don't you go first with your Nerd Out question?
Oh, you're coming on pants now.
Oh, I've got one prepared if you need a minute to prepare.
Go right ahead, my brother.
All right. So coming out of San Diego, what were you most excited about? Was it a movie or a clip of something? Was it some of the toys or what was it?
Yeah, to be honest, it probably was the X-Men 97 stuff. It really just stirred up a lot of really good, just childhood memories, and I was such a fan of the show, and I've enjoyed going back and watching some things here and there. So for me, that's kind of what it was. Because other than that, it was just figure collecting stuff that I said I went in heavy for WWE. So and Joe's obviously. So yeah, beyond the collecting aspect of it, it was probably that's what got me most pumped because there was a huge lack of comics. The teaser for the Ghost Rider HasLab, I'm trying not to get too excited about. Like typically that would me well enough to know that would have but I'm kind of waiting
it's
until I see what it is.
It's hard on that one with no more details than what they gave. And I'll say what I was most excited for, as much as I like the shows and the movies and stuff, what was the toys that are slated for release for next year, and very specific ones too. Like the G.I. Joe line was out there for me. It's like there's some amazing stuff in that I really want, and then like Retro Beast and stuff, because that reminds me of the old '90s X-Men toys, and those caught my attention a lot. Now, the X-Men '97 caught my attention, and Ghost Rider should have caught mine more. Like I was excited, but at the same time, like, what are you doing for it? So that's what's got me concerned. So I don't know. I guess I'd have to say the toys, just the amount of stuff slated to come out.
It was very collector heavy and exciting that way. So there's a lot of things on the horizon, so to speak.
So did you decide on a question?
I do have one. So we've established McFarlane's put out some really great figures. Is there any other company you had rather see do that license that has it right now? Like, would it be Hasbro, Mattel, whoever, with some of those? Because his biggest thing, as he said, is he's doing figures of shit that's never been on the shelf. That's his biggest goal, is to because there's such a vast catalog of characters that just never got an action figure before. So that's what he's pumped the most about. So taking that similar approach, is there anyone else you had rather see to do that, or just him get better quality control?
You mean anyone else doing the DC line?
Yeah.
I would probably give it back to Mattel. Honestly, I like how so he says he's delving into characters, and I like some of the stuff. Like, okay, we've had a Booster Gold in the past before when Mattel had it, but I don't remember them doing a Ted Core Blue Beetle. So I'm like, okay, I'm excited about that. That's great. And then doing a lot of the ones he's doing, like in the Build-A-Figure wave, they've been done before in DC Direct and these others. And DC Direct had great quality from aesthetics, but they had terrible articulation. They basically stood there in an A-frame pose, and that's it. They're waiting on the school bus every morning. But Mattel actually put a lot of effort into trying to do their posability. And if they, you got a guest star who's snuck in behind
us. She likes it. She's just chilling.
But if Mattel, if they got it back and could get into the same comparison of what like Marvel Legends is doing with some of their newer ones, like their Spider-Man ones, and all how they're giving them the full torso movement as well as the ab crunch and stuff, I believe Mattel would get into that more, because I see it starting to go that way with their He-Man figures. I would like to see them get it just because they can do the posability. And honestly, McFarlane talking about diving into all these characters that have never been made. He's making 35 different versions of Batman from Dark Metal and all these other stories that nobody cares about. I don't need those. And that's why. So we didn't delve into this, so let's jump into it for just a quick second, if you don't mind.
No, we could.
He made the comment again at San Diego that he's got the best-selling toy line according to this one place that gave him an award for his DC figures that outsold all Marvel Legends. Well, for one, you outsold stuff because every time you turn around, all your figures are down to $12, $13, and I can get them for half price, basically.
Yeah.
And for two, his entire DC Multiverse line is all listed as DC Multiverse. Every Marvel Legends line, if Thor Love and Thunder, that's listed as Thor Love and Thunder. That's listed as X-Men sublines or Retro Card sublines, so they don't add those sales figures together. I've seen people doing the additions of some of those and saying if you added those together, they'd be like 2.5, 3 times what he sold. But his character selection, and I went into all that just to come back and say his character selection and the fact that a lot of his are just repaints. Yeah, he might be selling a lot of them, and yes, he's got some good aesthetics. But again, it's stuff that a lot of people don't care about or know about or want at the end of the day too.
Yes.
So that was my long-winded answer.
There you go. I just like to see him get a better quality control myself. Just like get some joints that work, a little bit of better posability, and then I think he'll be on track where he needs to be.
Yeah. I think we're. Was that your answer? I should have asked. Was that your answer?
No, that was my go at it. Basically, I just like to see him get a better quality control. Yeah, because that just sucks the way it does it right now.
Yeah. Well, with that, I think that brings us pretty much to a close for today. But before we leave, let's give a shout out to some of our friends out there, especially first up, Mr. Daniel Garcia's Kickstarter for Xyber Ronin is over. But as we said earlier in the show, his book's about to be in your hands, so be on the lookout for that. You can catch updates here or on his Facebook at Daniel Garcia, or on his Instagram at D Garcia Comics. And also, while you're checking him out, remember to check out our sponsor, The Zone Collectibles, for all your nerdy needs. You can find them on the internet at thezonecollectibles@gmail.com, and on Facebook at The Zone Collectibles, or in their store at 305 Main Street, Tifton, Georgia. Help support their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms Unite. Remember, August 13th is their next live event, which is at the Tifton Performing Arts Theater. And with that, Hassel, I don't think I know because I was out this week, we didn't have time to prepare our normal giveaway, which we always do based on people commenting, liking, subscribing, so sharing on our social media. So that will return in our next episode for everyone who unfortunately missed out on this one. Sorry about that. I was out of town, so we weren't able to get it all together. But with that, Hassel, you want to tell them where they can find us on social media?
You can find us on Twitter at Nerdy MR Show. You can find us on Instagram at the Nerdy Manroom Show, and on Facebook at Hassel Hutchison.
And with that, I think that brings us to a close today. Did I miss anything, Hassel, or are we caught up?
Nah, we are el completo.
Yeah, see, it's been one of those weeks, people. I seem to forget what I was doing 5 minutes ago. But with that does bring us to a close. Join us here next time. As we said before, we're going to discuss Mr. Baba Yaga, John Wick himself. Until then, live nerdy and enjoy your conventions.